today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts and I edit them here for you live. So I just downloaded, I think I got about 10 images to edit today. And uh, yeah, so let's just get into it. I see a lot of people are here already. I see Paul and Erna. Good to see you. Jeff, good to see you. And there's already a couple of questions. I see. So I'll try and get to them. Let me pull up my chat window. We'll do a couple of those first. Um, so Paul, you didn't get around to upload it? No worries. And Paul, good to see you. And Ernest says, hey, Rob, my photo that I sent is with trees in different colors. I did light painting. Okay. Look forward to seeing that. And Rob, what's the best way of copyrighting your images? Someone on Facebook stole the kite image you edited last week, claiming it was theirs. Wow. How did they steal it? Did they like do a screenshot or something? Because I don't leave the images up for downloading or anything. Uh, but here in the US, at least, you have to register your images with the Copyright Office, and then at least you have a paper trail that, legal paper trail that says it's yours. And then also, make sure your EXIF data is all up to date. I mean, I know they can just delete the EXIF data, but sometimes they don't, and that's how some people have found their images, and then they file a claim, they get an attorney. I've never dealt with it personally, any problems. I've had people steal my images, and I just let it go. My images aren't that important. But, uh, yeah, that's the only way I know of, do it, at least here in the US. I forget if you're here in the US or not, but yeah, that's the way to, because I did look into it when someone ripped off a bunch of my, uh it's been a couple of times people ripped off my architectural images that I did for other clients, and what they did is they reused it for their website. They were brokers, right? So one agent used the images from the previous agent, and technically they should pay for the rights to use those images. But for me, it's a little different situation where, uh, do I go after them for it and potentially lose a client, or, I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask, but that's what I did is I looked into it and I found that having it copyrighted, you pay like $300 though up front. And then I don't know how many images you can register for that. If it's like if you can register everything from a single day, because nobody's going to pay $300 per image. So that wasn't the case, but it was a substantial investment to register your images, and then I think you register per day or per group, something like that. But I'm sorry I don't have a better answer. And good morning, Brian. And I've been watching for a while, but finally have one of these happening when I have a day off and can watch live. I also uploaded a photo that I was able to take this morning. Oh, great. Look forward to seeing that. And good afternoon, Lasse and John Follows. Good to see you. And AJ. Yeah, he's commenting. Yeah, Facebook is bad place to upload. That's true. So if they just download direct, because Facebook gives a pretty decent resolution uh, image if you download from there. I mean, I've done a couple images where I downloaded them for uh, educational purposes for myself, right? I would download it and study it and compare it, things like that, but I never published them. And then Paul says, my 7 to 14 Pro lens jammed when I went to use it tonight. Limited focus. Ooh, wow. That's unusual. I've never heard of that. Okay. Let's get to the images. So let me see if I can pull up the right screens and move everything around. And there we go. So we'll start here. This This is from Garrett. Looks like a rainbow. So I'm going to download the optics module first. So we have an R7 with a 14 to 35 f4. Very nice. Nice L lens. And wow, how lucky. So there's a lot of brown in here. I don't know if there's like a forest fire nearby that's causing this. Because it transitions to blue over here. So it's almost like it it's almost like this is not a white balance issue, but like a hazy forest fire kind of. I don't know. That's the last time I saw a brown sky like that. It was because of some, forest fires. But okay, we're going to correct for it anyway. So we're going to apply basic preset, which is just optical corrections and noise reduction. And I might have to eyeball the white balance. If I see a real problem with the white balance or colors, I address that first in my images. Uh, so, because that's going to affect how you edit the rest of it. So I think I'll just come back and cool it off. I mean, it's at 5500. So let's just back it off, cool it off a bit. Maybe a radial, like a control point, would be useful here. Just to get this side. Whoops. Just to get this side a little more in balance with the right side. I'm going to go down here, pull it back so it's more even. Okay. Now, the rainbow has what? Red, yellow, green. So I'm going to maybe do a selective color adjustments here. So let's just kind of pick here in the middle. I'm going to pull the chroma all the way back to 0 so that I can effect change to all the colors. And hopefully I can pick out those colors a little better. So let's start with the yellow. Just saturate that. And then we'll go to red. More of an orange, isn't it? That's okay. I can spread it out over here if I need to, but let's see how this looks. There we go. A bit too much. Then let's try the green. Okay, good. And then I'm gonna make a new control point for these softer colors of the rainbow up here. Pull the chroma way back. And what if I just do a vibrance? No, that looks silly. I'm gonna have to be selective again. So let's try the reds. Hmm. Let me go. Let me go over here. Oh, hey, Larry, I just saw something pop up over on this other screen. Awesome. Thank you so much for your support. I'm going to try over here. Let me try with just a brush, maybe. Uh, I'm going to, yeah, I got a very low flow and opacity. If we can push the colors this way. And try the yellows. The greens. I had a very low flow and opacity, so I'm just going to be able to brush over it again. Let me increase this a bit, 50%. See what I get. One more time. I did it twice, so that'd be 100%. So I think that's the best I'm going to be able to do. It's weird that this is brighter down here. What? I didn't affect any brightness. Let me just do a comparison here. It is brighter underneath. Interesting. Okay. All right, now let's see if we can bring out the clouds. So I'm going to do a control line. We'll just start up here. We bring this down here. We're going to tighten up the chroma. We don't affect the rainbow or minimize that. And maybe the Luma a tiny bit. Okay, let's try clear view and some micro contrast. All right, that looks pretty good. And gosh, it's really odd. This area is brighter. Let me look at this again. It really is brighter underneath here. That is really strange. Okay, it is what it is. And we do have a lot of noise in here. Let me see how noise reduction. So I'm going to get my loop here and just see how the DxO deep prime is doing with that. Okay, go back over here. I'm going to back off the sharpening. Increase this. Okay. That looks good. Looks good. All right, I think that's all we need. There's a lens spot here maybe, so I'm going to correct that. Let's do a repair. Let's brighten this image up. It's a little bit dark. Let's try the shadows. Touch a global clear view there. Back to this control line. Maybe back off the micro contrast a bit. Okay. I think that's all I would do here. So I'm going to export this disk to the same folder. No resizing. And we'll do a comparison. Oh, I see. I'm just, while this is exporting. See, Steve is here, Tim Adams, Garrett, and Marco. Always good to see you. And let's see. The dome is real, huh? Interesting. Okay, so that's exported. Where is it? Let's see where it is. I'm going to reset this one and compare it to reset or not. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I don't know. That's probably very different than what you saw with your naked eye. But this is how I interpret this scene is it's more in the evening with all these clouds, which is going to create a very cool color for white balance. And yeah, this is really interesting though. How this is a much lighter color. Hopefully, it's much more obvious there's a double rainbow here. And then we can see a little more texture in the sky. Okay, let's go to the next one. Thank you, Brian, for sending that one. And let's see. Oh, I need to adjust my screen so you guys can see the sliders a little easier. Let me do that real quick. So what I do is I just go into my display settings and I just change the scale to 250%. Go. All right. There. Okay, so let's start with a basic preset. This one's from Garrett. And all right, so we had this very dark animal with very bright background. So I need to, I want to brighten the animal so it's more in the light and then darken the back. So I just need to balance the exposure a bit. So we're just going to work with the lighter colors. So I'm putting the eyedropper on one of the lighter areas of the leaves. And let's just do a linear pull, like so. Maybe we can bring it all the way down. That's, yeah, that's kind of affecting the squirrel, but that's okay. We can do local adjustments and fix them up. Okay. Do the same thing in this direction. All right, now let's work on the squirrel itself. I can probably just use control points. Like this, and maybe down here. Tighten that up a little bit. Do a slight chroma right there, and I had one more here. Here. Okay. We'll just do another linear push. All right. Might be too much. Let's back that off. Because the fur here was getting a little bit too bright, so the linear push is not working as well as I want. So I'm going to go and just push the shadows and the blacks. Okay, good. And we're going to have to do a white balance check on this as well. It's not too far off. We just need to warm it up just a little bit. Okay. And I wasn't going to crop this, but I think I'll crop a little bit. I normally crop first. Just going to crop it so it's more balanced. That. A little bit off the back. Okay. Now I'm going to work on the eyes. And with animals and people and things like that. It's always eyes, feet, or talons. In this case, the ears might need a little work. Okay, we'll do a new control point just for the eye. And push the shadows. Okay, then it gets a little soft when I push shadows, so I just use clear view to kind of make it a little glassy. And also some micro contrast. Okay, very good. Now, I don't think there's much color in that eye. All right, good. Maybe back it off just a little bit. Then let's do separate one for his hands. Is that he's actually doing something with his hands, so I want to highlight that a little bit. Just do a simple linear brightening there. A little bit on the ears. Now I'm going to push the vibrancy just to give it a little more color. Because, you know, when you brighten things, the colors sometimes get washed out a little bit. Oof. All right, and then we're going to do one more control point for the colors, kind of just around the rest here. So let me just push the vibrancy. Okay. I think this ear could use a little more detail. I'm going to add some clear view, micro contrast. Okay. This could use a little more saturation. Okay, well, let me warm it up first. Maybe warming it up will... Yeah, that's going to exaggerate the browns that I just tried so hard to bring out. A little bit more green. All right, now let me go back and back off some of the red that I put in here. Okay. Nothing there, nothing there. Nothing here. Well, a little bit there. Probably back that off. Then I'm going to make a new one because this red is a little bit too strong. I'm just going to pull the vibrancy back a bit. And then let me see. I think I can soften this area just a bit. So I'm going to pull the micro contrast back and the regular contrast. And then up here on the top control line, these greens didn't get pulled like the rest of them, so maybe just back off the chroma a little bit. There. Okay, and then back to the squirrel. think add some micro contrast here. Add some clear view. Just want to bring out the texture of the fur a little more. And that eye is looking a little glassy or gloss, not hazy is the word I'm looking for. I'm gonna go back to the eye. Push this all the way up to 100. We pull this back. Push the highlights. All right, let's export that. Oh, you know what? That a little vignette would be nice too. So I'm gonna just add it, excuse me, manually with a control point. Because the film pack, I have film pack from DxO, which has a vignetting feature. But if you don't have film pack, you can create a vignette yourself by creating control point somewhere in the middle, and then turn the chroma and the Luma down to 0, and then invert the mask here, and then just pull the exposure down. That, let me push it out. Okay, and then let me brighten this up a bit. And I also like to look at the histogram when I'm pushing the brightness, just to make sure I don't clip anything, or it gives me a feel like right in the center here is middle gray. So I like to be close to that, but not necessarily over that. Maybe just a little bit under. Okay, now I'm done. All right, let's export this again and take a look. And we'll reset it and compare it with the output. Okay, so just a slightly tighter crop. So it feels more balanced because the squirrel's adding a lot of weight to the image. So I pushed them over to the left side and added more to the right. And it just feels more balanced this way to me. And of course, the white balance played a huge role here. So I shifted that. Like I said, I normally do that first, but when I first looked at it, it didn't look that bad, but it was actually off quite a bit. And then it was a little bit too crunchy up here in the front, so I did the softening on contrast, the micro contrast and regular contrast. I pulled it off a little, and then I also darkened it slightly, so that now that squirrel is a little more balanced overall in the scene, I think. So I think that came out pretty good. So we can do a split view on this. And there's the before, and there's the after. If we zoom in, you can see DxO did a really nice job with the optics module and deep prime, sharpening it up and getting rid of the noise and really bringing out the details of the fur and everything. So really cool shot. All right, let's see. Let's go to this one here. So this one, I can't remember your name, but you emailed this to me. Said you're trying DxO as a you're on the 30-day free trial. So I emailed you my affiliate link and a coupon code. And for those of you watching, there is an affiliate link down below and a coupon code for 15%. And one of the questions was, and it's a good question, you know, they wanted to save some money and maybe get the essentials version over, say, the Elite version. And my recommendation is always get the Elite version. You're going to get the best output. You're going to get a lot of additional tools. I mean, the Essentials version is nice. The workflow is, pretty much the same as you see here, but you don't get like the Deep Prime XD. You don't get those like comparison tools. There's a lot of other things in there that you don't get, like like the loop feature here. So there's a lot of very useful tools in the Elite version, not just the DxO Prime. And it's definitely worth paying a little bit extra. Excuse me. Okay. Uh, all right. So what I want to do here is probably I need to balance it. And the question is the story here about the cat sitting on your lap, or can I make it just about the cat? I think I can make it a little of both. The background here is a little bit distracting, right? So let me apply basic preset first. And I'm gonna do some composition changes first. So I need to straighten this. Maybe do a little keystoning. I don't think that's necessary, but I could do maybe a little. So I reset it because if I hit the reset here, uh, because what happens is it'll automatically try to figure out the perspective. So I click the reset here so that I could apply only the perspective correction that I want. I think that's good enough. Back it off a little bit. Something like that. And then on the crop, I want to minimize the background. See how we're doing here. Yeah, we're good. I can fix that. Got good balance here. So I think we're good. I might fix the zipper showing. But let me just kind of just touch up a couple of places here. And I'm going to rotate this. Okay, good. All right, now this is a decent composition, I think, because we can see it's still on the lap, but we don't have those bright distractions in the background. So let's work on the face and then fade off the light all everywhere else. I'm going to do the eyes. I always like to work with the eyes first. And DxO remembers the size of the last control point, so it just applies that again. I think on the eyes, they're bright enough, so maybe all I need to do is some clear view. Maybe brighten them a little bit and some micro contrast. Okay. Then let's add another control point just around the face. I'm going to tighten up the chroma tiny. Well, let's do it. Let's do a little bit on both chroma and lumina. And then I'm just going to do a global or linear. About one stop. So everything is clipped here now, but that's okay because what I'm going to do is go back to the global side and pull it back one stop. Okay. Go back to the control point and back that off a little bit. Now we'll do the highlights separately. A little bit tighter on the Luma. Let's pull the highlights. Ah, what am I doing wrong here? This is, oh, you know what? I'm editing the JPEG. I was like, why aren't the highlights coming in? All right, let me reset this. This is their edit of the photo, not my edit. So what I need to do is this is the raw image. Okay, so I can do the same thing. Apply preset, do some optical corrections. And let's straighten this out. Then we're going to do perspective. I'm going to reset it and just do some manual. There, and bring this in again. Maybe a little more tilt. Okay, good. Just quickly fix little things here and there. Clone. I'm gonna use a clone. Fix that. It was a little bit down here, it was a little bit off, I think. Okay. Oh, and the zipper. Oh, that's not bad. I'll just leave it. We won't have to fix it. Okay. Oops. We're over here. Might, oh, that's because I'm outside of the image. There. All right, there we go. Now let's do the eyes. So the eyes, I said they're pretty bright already, but I'm gonna just push the midtones a little and then give it some clear view to make them a little bit glossy, together with some micro contrast. Make these stand out. Okay, and then let's do sort of a global control point here. And we'll tighten up the chroma and the Luma. Just brighten that about one stop. Go to the global, pull it about one stop. Go back here. Pull this back a little bit. See if I can just work with the highlights. Let's do a separate one for the highlights. All right, so what we need is maybe some more vibrancy here. Go down here. Let's give this cat a little more color and maybe shift the white balance a bit. Just a couple hundred. Okay. We didn't need to brighten it that much, but let's. So the cat, I'm looking at the histogram, the cat is kind of right in here. So it is quite a bit brighter than the rest of the scene. And let me go back here and just fix that. There we go. That looks about right. I'm just going to darken, add a control point and darken this area. Tighten up the chroma. Pull this down a bit. There. And then I'm going to add just a little more color to the nose. It's right in here. All right, so yeah, I think that's good. Maybe a tiny bit more light right here. All right, super. I don't think I really need to export this because there's virtually no noise, but I'm going to export it. Let's reset it and then compare. Side by side. Okay, so here's my edit on the left. That's the original on the right, obviously. So all that mattered really is having this cat sitting in the lap, right? We don't need to see the rest of the room. Uh, it just really doesn't add any context. So we have enough context with the blue jeans and the shirt, the remote control to see that, the cat is sitting there. I think I kept the story there, and then a little bit of perspective correction. But yeah, I think that came out pretty good. The cat looks a little bit flat because the light is so strong on them. So that's why I kind of brighten the face, but then I darken the image overall. Little saturation. We're good to go. Uh, and yeah, I think we're good. So comparing that to, we'll compare it later. But I think, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. All right, let's see. We have one here from Let's go back. Somehow I got mixed up with the way I had the images. Let's go over here. Oh, Paul is asking about Luminar. I haven't touched it this month. I did a lot in February, but I didn't do much. God, it's already almost end of March. I haven't done anything in March. Uh, but I do have. Yeah, I'll try and do something. I promise in April I will do a photo editing stream just for Luminar Neo. Okay. Let's work on this one. Okay, so we have a blue heron here from Bert. Let's open this, get our tools out, and apply basic preset. Let's do a little horizon correction and crop. The horizons in land, wildlife type stuff is sometimes it's tough to figure out, right? So I like to look at the legs. The legs are usually straight when I'm doing these. Because, grass and shorelines and everything can kind of bend and warp around and give you this like perception that the horizon's crooked when it's not. So I always use the legs to kind of balance the horizon. I think right about there looks good. And all right. Now compositionally, I'm going to do kind of the same thing I did with the squirrels. I'm just going to back off behind the animal. There's a little bit of a space so here on the left. Top and bottom looks okay. And the animal's already pretty bright, so I think I'll just darken, do a global darkening first. Just a simple linear drop in the exposure right about there. Okay. Now let's work on the bird. And the herons are pretty straightforward. It's just yellow and blue, which I think really helps with the color science, right? Micro contrast, and then we're just going to add a little bit of vibrancy here. And let's see if we can save some of these highlights individually. I never like to do global shadow and highlight adjustments because it can mess with the rest of the image in an undesirable way. That one I might have to use a brush, but let's pull the highlights here. I have to make this smaller. We're going to tighten up the Luma mask. It's bleeding into the. And let me try brush. The highlights here. Okay. Now I want to work on the blue a little bit. Maybe I'll do it this way. And let me tighten up the Luma mask in this case. And pull in some clear view. A little bit of push on the vibrancy. Be a little more on the saturation. Okay. See how we're doing. Good. Good, good, good. Let me just add a touch up here. Micro contrast. All right. The water looks pretty good, but I'm gonna try to just give it a little more pop. So we'll do clear view. Pull the blacks in a bit. Maybe a slight push to the midtones. I don't think I need to do one up there. Yeah, that doesn't look good. I think up there is fine. The only thing that's a little distracting is I think there's a duck behind this heron. I don't know if I can pull up my tool here. Let me feather this a little bit less. Okay. So just want to get rid of this dark spot underneath the chin. Repair is not, let's try clone. Okay, not bad. Let me erase a little bit there. I'm just hitting the Alt key to kind of just erase. There we go. And then let's fix this one spot there. Okay. It down. A little bit more. Okay, good. Maybe this spot here. Okay. That's a little better, I think. Yeah. I can go a little tighter on the crop. Okay. Good. Let's export that. Oh, come up. Actually, I don't need this. We reset. I'm going to compare to the output at this one. Okay, so tighter crop, obviously, so that we can see more details in the bird. I may have overdone it slightly here, but it's okay. And I'm thinking, I think we're okay. I didn't really darken the background. All I did was lower the exposure so that the highlights weren't so strong, or the bird wasn't so bright, because the bird's a little bit too bright here. That looks about right. So let's do a very close up. Yeah. This duck was definitely distracting. I think that looks pretty good, and we got really nice details here on the bird. Okay, very good. Um, let's see what else we got here. Another bird. So thank you, Larry, for sending that one. And whoops, hit this button. All right. And Pesto's asking, do I share? I can show you. My preset is nothing but optical corrections and noise reduction. Oh, I might be getting into Alexa, show me the driveway. Okay. I have to see who's here. It's a delivery truck, but they're not coming to my house. Okay. Alexa, stop. Uh, okay, preset. So my preset basically is just an optical correction, and then also I apply D prime XD, I apply chromatic aberrations, I put auto, and that's it. There's nothing special about it, but that's all that is. All right, so this one here, the bird is exposed properly. I think all I need to do is a square crop. I think a square crop would look good here, right about there. Maybe just a hair tighter. Let's see, a little tighter. Since the tail's cut off anyway, I'll just cut off a little more. Okay. That's good. So we can bring out the eyes and beak a little bit. Maybe pull the highlights down a tiny bit and give it a little warmth. I'm going to go with the white balance first. Make it a little warmer. Give it kind of a morning glow. And then let's just do control points. And we're going to tighten up the chroma a bit. Okay. And let's just pull the exposure down. Too much. Okay. Maybe a little bit in the browns. I think a vignette will work here better, but we'll do that. And let's work on the eyes and talons. Bring that in. Push the shadows. Give it a little shine. Contrast. Push that up. Could probably do the same. Same thing on the beak. Beak needs a little bit of a highlight work. We'll go here. Just pull the highlights in a bit. Give it some contrast. All right. Man, this lens is super sharp. What is it? It's a 40 to 150 f4 Pro. Oh, no wonder. I mean, this lens is really good. All right. I think we're good. Maybe just a little bit of a vignette. So we'll just go in the center here, expand this out, clear out the chroma and Luma, invert it, and then pull the exposure. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay. Globally, maybe just a touch of clear view in here, touch of contrast maybe. Back it off a little bit. And I need a slight tilt. Oh, no, let's not tilt. When I tilt it, the problem is my control points don't move with the subject. So when I tilt it, the control points stay where they are, and then they don't apply to where I put them exactly. So I'll give you an example. If you look at the eye, as I tilt this, you can see it's getting darker because it's moving away from the control points. So it's a little bit too late for me to do that, but it's okay. Let's see if this is a little distracting here. I wonder if I can just brush that out a little bit. Do a clone, feather it a bit more. And pick something that looks good. All right, let's export that. Oh, I didn't do the talons. Let me just do a little bit here. Okay, now I can export. Overwrite. Okay. Just okay. Let's do a reset and compare side by side. All right, so this is subjective, but I tend to like my images a little bit warmer generally. So that's why you see this shift in white balance from this a little bit cooler scene to something a little warmer. And then the vignetting just helps you focus on the subject itself. I think brightening the eye right here was a key factor. And then, of course, this talon was a little bit too dark. You compare it to the original. Slight crop and a little touch up, and I think that's all this image needed. I don't mind cropping the tail out here because it's already kind of cropped anyway out of the image. So rather than have sort of like this unintentional error, I don't like to call it that, but uh, you know, we might as well just get rid of all of this and leave it up to our imagination, right? But I think that looks good. So if we do it this way, That looks pretty good. And then of course the details are pretty amazing. This is a solid lens, solid shot, good settings, good exposure. This was an easy one to edit. I think the square crop works well for this image. Okay, let's do the next one. See what we got here. Sorry, let me come up. This one here is from Lasse. Okay. We need a little horizon correction. So my basic preset, and straighten the horizon. Just keep note, I have it auto here because it automatically crop it as I'm tilting it so that I don't get, black bars in the corners. That looks about right. Right about there. Okay, compositionally, a couple of guys fishing. I don't know if we need these rocks, but let me see. If I move this rocks out, or those poles, came in a lot tighter. No. These poles are really distracting. All right, I'm gonna go through a few iterations here. I think this might be better. Just a vertical. In which case I can keep the rocks. Now they're not, the rocks were just kind of bearing a lot of weight into the bottom. A little bit more to the right. Like that. Okay, there's that. And I'm leaning towards a black and white. Unless I can bring out some of the color back here. Let's see if I warm up the image a bit. Hmm. I don't know about black and white. The good thing about the black and white is there's good texture in the water so that we still have good separation here, the subjects. But this horizon here is just cutting off their heads a little bit, which that's where I'm having the problem. When I go to black and white, this doesn't separate quite as well. His head looks like it's cut off because it blends really right into the background, but in color, he still blends in. His head is like the same color as this shoreline. This black hat is okay. But this dude here, it'd been nice if you could have gotten a little bit higher so that their entire shape would be inside the water. But okay, I'm going to stick with color because black and white is, at a glance, not working. I want to bring out some of the reds in this scene here. And maybe push the greens separately. And that out. And let's do the greens. Have to push that a little bit there. All right. That's a little more interesting. And then work on the subjects themselves. You just need a little more light. Tighten up the chroma. I'm sorry, tighten up the Luma mask. Bring them up. Just so they stand out a bit more. Maybe give them a little bit more warmth. Okay. Then I'm going to do something here. Just the tires. Tighten up the Luma again. Bring that down. Let's do a control line. Okay. Something here. Into the water. Make that a little richer. I wonder if I can do the same thing up here. Tighten up the chroma this time. Okay. Go back to these gentlemen. Give them a little bit more push by the midtones. Make it a little tighter. All right, these rocks are next. They just are a little bit too strong. Side of that pier. Bring it down a bit. Okay. All right, I think that's it. So export that. And when that's done exporting, reset. All right, so here's my edit on the left. That's the original on the right. I think the vertical works better because it's way too heavy over here. And it's just not adding anything to the scene. And then I had to separate these guys a little bit, so I did it by brightening them a little bit and then adding a little bit of warmth, right? As if the sun is hitting on them. And then, of course, the trees in the background are very flat, so I just exaggerated the colors in here. I think that looks pretty good. So that's where I'm gonna go. So if we do a split, here's the original, and there's the edit. Okay, let's do the next one. So thank you, Lasse, for sending another one. And we just, yeah, we're in the raws. Okay, yep, this looks next. Okay. All right. Uh, let's go to basic preset and light horizon tilt, very, very slight. Again, I can see a little bit up here and I'm looking at the legs. So this leg should be straight. This leg should be straight. Too much, just a hair. And there's a horizon level here too, but like I said, that can be deceiving sometimes. All right, so compositionally, we're already very tight. I think I just take a little bit off the back, maybe just a square crop. I don't know, 4 by 3, 3 by 2. Might have to stay 4 by 3. Or no, 5 by 4. That would be perfect. Just give it a little bit more to the right side. That. Okay. And then just, I think this is already really well exposed, so we just have to bring up a little bit of the eyes, get in there. Okay. Some global warming. And again, that's very subjective choice there. Eyes are still a bit too strong. Pull it back. Let's try the midtones. Yeah. Okay, and then just a little bit of a pull on the highlights here. And we'll tighten up the Luma. Just do a pull. Maybe some micro contrast. Give the feathers a little more detail. And I feel like the head needs a little more light on it. So let me do that. Tighten up the Luma again. Just push a little more brightness there. Maybe give it a little warmth. Doesn't need much. We'll leave it the way it is. Okay. Let's see if we can just give the greens a little bit more. Tighten up the chroma a bit. Give these just a little more color. Same thing with the water. Do a control line. I'm gonna come in. This way. And let's tighten up the chroma. Quite a bit. Wow, I normally don't have to do that much on the chroma, but all I want to do here is maybe just make it a little darker and a little more saturated. All right. All the blacks. Okay. And a little bit more light in here. There. No, don't need that one. And then just a vignette, maybe. So pull the Luma and chroma down. Invert it. Just, that's good. Put it up a little bit. Okay. Let me brighten it a bit. Go back to this vignette. All right, let's export that. See where we're at. Pair. All right, so the original, so the crop, I got rid of this like fence line up here and gave a little more room on the right. But I think that looks pretty good. Again, a little bit warmer, a little bit richer on the colors, but not too much. And then a pull on the highlights here, and a little brightening of the eye and the face, right? So I think that looks pretty good. Very, very subtle difference, but again, when the shot is already cropped well and exposed properly, the editing is pretty minimal. And then you just pretty much go with your personal preferences. Like I like warmer colors, I like slightly tighter crops, and I always like to make sure the faces and eyes are bright so that you can see it. Because if we do just a larger thing here, I want to see, you can see the noise here and a lot better detail. Really nice and crispy. But particularly the eye. The eye here is very black. Here you can see a little bit of color, just a hint. Okay, let's go to the next one. See what we got here. So that was from Seascape. Thank you, Seascape, for sending that one. And see, we have a building. We just apply basic preset. And I feel like let's do a perspective correction because it is a little bit off. Just a tiny bit. Maybe a slight rotation. Okay. This is tough. I don't like this fence over here. I get why you stood here, because you wanted to get the front of the building as much as possible. This was shot, oh wow, and you're already at 16 millimeters. That's a 32. So what I would have done is I'd have probably gotten closer and shot this at 12 millimeters. So I wouldn't have to get this fence. That's what I would have done differently. This is a tough one. Let me just go in. This is not going to look great. That fence cut out. That's a lot cleaner image. I don't want to lose the roof line. I think that's better. If I can just give the building a little more prominence. But I'm cutting off that window. And I want to see the sidewalk here too. I think I'll go with this. And then this image kind of begs to be a monochrome, but at the same time, kind of like the little spots of green here and flowers. A little spot of red here in this window I like. Some flowers in here. So there's really nice little accents to this picture of color. They're very small, but they're really nice accents to this otherwise very monochrome type image, right? We have mostly just this stone brown or sandy brown color. There's nice little hints I want to try to bring out. So let's do that. Uh, let me just get the low hanging fruit first. The sky. Can do some clear view, contrast. Maybe shift it a little cooler. Like that. Where were we? We were at 59. Let's go to 55. And the windows, I always like to be kind of glossy. Maybe I can do that with control points. Do just tightening on the Luma color. Just all the glass. And let's put in a clear view. Micro contrast. Okay, let's just pull the blacks a little bit tighter. All right, now let's work on some of these accents. I wonder if I desaturate those a tiny bit. Yeah, let me desaturate just a tiny bit there. Okay. Now let's do some control points, and this red jar in here. I'm gonna saturate that. Maybe add some vibrance. Then there's some flowers here. These need to be yellow. I can just push the yellows and that out. These are a little bit too faint. Tighten this up a bit. And down here, do the same thing. Just a touch. Okay, this one's a bit too strong. Pull that back. Make it brighter though. All right. So let me work on the building again. What I'd like to do is a combination, mostly micro contrast, just to get some grit. But the clear view, I think, might be a bit much, so we're just going to touch that. And push the, oops. There. How about down in the sidewalk? Yeah, sidewalk is nice. Just tighten this up a little bit. And then one more up here, maybe. Just saturate that a bit more. Windows, make. All right, let me export that. Do a comparison. Set. All right, so this scene, this is a nice building, but this fence should not be in the picture. Uh, it's just, yeah, that's a big eyesore in this image. But I like everything else. I like this building. I like the bushes, the little spots and accents here and there that I tried to, exaggerate. And then I just had to tone down the windows a bit. So I do that with clear view and and pulling the black so the windows are blacker. Uh, so if we do more of a split view, that's the original. That's the original there. This composition it's just this part right down here. So I think going with a vertical crop, because, okay, over on this side of the building, you can't see anything here. So there's no new information on this left side. And the right side, again, no new information. So I think everything we need to know about this picture is just right here in the center, uh, where I cropped it. So you can see I just cropped all of that off, right? We don't need all of that. And then brought out the texture in the stonework here and the brickwork. And then think about it. Do we really need all this information here? Not really. It doesn't really add anything. It just adds this big eyesore, this barbed wire fence and whatever that stone, this stone, this looks like stone here. It's a stone fence. That could be a separate picture at a different angle. So I think this works. Okay. All right. So let's see what else we got here. Oh, just one more looks like from Paul. And I see this question from Tim and Paul did answer it. But I'll try and demonstrate this for you, Tim. Okay, so let's edit this one here. All right, so we got a nice straight horizon, a dust spot, or maybe a bird. Sometimes this is a bird, right? Not a dust spot, but we're going to get rid of it either way. Uh, we need to be brighter and warmer, even though it is an overcast day. So maybe we don't want to make it warmer. I'm going to apply a basic preset. And let's just do a global brightening because the image is just a little bit overexposed or underexposed for me. That's better. And if I were to warm this up a bit, right there. I think the horizon is still a tiny bit off. Let me use the horizon tool this time. Maybe it's not, but it just feels like it's. Yeah, just a tiny bit off. Okay. Uh, I see how monochrome. I haven't done a black and white today. I think the monochrome looks better because it is overcast, right? So all the colors are muted and flat. Um, I mean, I could try to make the colors pop a little more, but not really any need to. I'm gonna do that. Just give the background a little bit more pop. And then let's bring up the rocks. I'm gonna use local control points for that. Brighten those up. Tiny bit of micro. Let's see about if we can increase the contrast up front. Okay, compositionally, I didn't think about this. Composition, I need to do a little bit too. Let me get rid of this spot. Okay, bugging me. Compositionally, maybe a wider. Let's try 16 by 9. Not so sure. More tilt. Hmm. This one little patch here. And some local adjustments. Bring in this a little bit more. A little crispy. See what the color, where the color's at. Uh, guess the color's not bad. I'll stick with a color, actually. Because the colors did kind of start to pop a little. But let me go to one of these greens. Let's get rid of a little bit of the yellows. Okay. And let me double check my water lines. Sure. Cool that off a bit. Just tighten the chroma. Okay. And this water here is a little bit green. Let me see if I can make this a little bit shinier. All right, good. Okay, I'm going to export this. And do a quick comparison. Let me reset it. All right, so yeah, that's my edit on the top. That's the original on the bottom. I don't know if it might look better this way. I think the 16:9 crop works well because then we can really focus on just the main thing here. The water is semi-interesting because there are some very light waves going on. And the cloud is okay. I wish it was not quite as hazy as it was, but that's okay. We got rid of most of the haze. And that's a very subjective decision too, because the haze is actually helps create the mood of the scene, right? So an argument can be made that this is a little bit nicer background because it's hazy, whereas mine is very crispy. So again, that's just a subjective choice. But if we go this way, this is a little bit softer, a little hazier, and this is probably more realistic. But then this I think is a little bit more, obviously punchier and crispier. So I like it. And if we punch in and look at the fine details, you can see there's plenty of detail left in this scene versus the original. A little bit soft overall, but yeah, this looks really good. Okay. So I need I just need to take about 1 minute to check something. I'll be right back. And Paul says, Rob, Crispy is my nickname. Really? That's funny. That's great though. That fits. And then you set one of your edits in. Okay. And then Tim, I'll talk about the Chroma Luma. So I just need to take about a 1 minute break and then I'll be right back. All right. Man, I'm so sorry. No sound, no audio, no picture. Okay, I'm back. So let's what we're gonna do now is compare side by side your edits with my edits. And I got a couple in. I saw the one of the cat and I saw Paul sent his edit in, and then also I gave you my picture to edit. So we'll see what you guys do with mine. And then Tim, also I wanted to address your question about the Luma and chroma sliders. So let me go back and check why I don't see Paul's. If I download. Save. Should come up here. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's see if we can find it now. Okay, that's mine. Oh, there's Paul's. All right, so you kept the entire 4x3 frame instead of a crop, so you can keep all of this sky, right? Looks good. I mean, I don't know if that's a dust spot or just a bird out of focus, but this was the only thing that bothered me, in the image. Everything else looks pretty good. Uh, they also got rid of something that was here that I left. I missed that. A little bit of a pole or something that you took out. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's a nice edit. It's a very different edit, right? It's a more of a teal and orange type edit, whereas mine is, a little bit more natural color to some extent. But we did sort of a lot of the same work on the water, right? We made it nice and dark with good contrast. We got rid of all of the haze. And so similar edit overall, but mainly the differences in the color, it looks like. And then there was one other comparison. So that's the original. That's Shacabe's. So that's the original. That's Shacabe's edit. We'll set that as the reference. And then this was my edit. Shacabe went with a vertical. Interesting. I think that works. And you went with this, you were watching your corner here, and you did a little more saturation on the greens than I did. As you can see, the greens are much more dominant, but it kind of spilled over onto the birds. The birds have a little bit of a green tint to them. But yeah, good job working on the face and the eyes. Very similar edit there, but a little bit overdone on the highlights. Okay, so let me point out something here. You can see you got a lot of haloing effect here, right? With your edit, and that has translated into a lot of haloing and loss of detail in the feathers here, like on the neck area. So that is what is causing that. That's pulling the highlights a little bit too strong. Uh, you're kind of doing a global highlight reduction rather than a sort of I think, a control point type reduction. So I think that's what's causing that. It's just you pulled the highlights a little bit too strong and they got grayed out. But other than that, the vertical crop is interesting. I like it. I like the vertical crop. It really puts an emphasis on these three birds. This is a different picture, actually. Look, you can see the bird's head here is facing forward, and on mine it's down. So with this though, I kind of like these three heads here. I would have cropped it even tighter actually on this and just got this right here. But yeah, it's not the same exact picture, but probably within a few seconds of each other, right? Okay, and then let's see, what else do we got? I thought there was one more comparison. I have to edit that other person's picture. Oleg's. I don't know how I missed that in the beginning. I think that's it, right? Was that one and the ducks or the geese? Okay, if I see it, I'll come back to it. I just don't see anything else here. Okay. Oh, this is already edited, I think. It's a JPEG. We'll just take a look at it. My guess is this is like some kind of light painting. If the exit data tells us anything. 8 seconds, yeah. So this is a long exposure with light painting. You can see a little bit of an outline here of whoever's standing here with probably an RGB light and shining it around. That's pretty cool. Uh, and if it's an Olympus camera, it's probably a live comp even, rather, because there's not anything overexposed in 8 seconds. So this is probably a live comp image with light painting with an RGB stick and just shining it into different areas. Pretty slick, and you were standing probably here, and then when you moved, you shine a little light on the ground. So what you can do is shine a little bit more light on the ground on your way out, and that'll hide your shadow here, because I can see a little bit of a shadow right in here. Okay, let's go to your edits of my image. And my original image is, where is it? This one. We'll set that as the reference. So this is my image. So this one I felt had a lot of potential, right? So and there was a lot of different ways you could approach this because it's such a wide scene, and that's why I kind of picked this one for you guys to edit. And I'll show you my edit. My edit's not very good, but going to the first one here. This one is from Lasse. The Lasse did a similar crop to mine, like meaning you chopped out the foreground. We'll keep my original over here. You chopped out the foreground and you kept most of the sky, and then you pulled in the sky best you can, right? And then also slight shift on the white balance and a little bit of work on the colors. So that looks good. And then this one is from Seascape. So Seascape, I always like these white borders. It really separates the image from the background. I don't know, but I like these white borders sometimes. But yeah, very contrasty and punchy. Lots of clear view, I think, sort of a global clear view maybe. But okay, very good. And this one is from Paul. Paul went with a vertical. That was definitely a very solid option to go with. The vignette's a little heavy, but yeah. So, and then yeah, a little bit of crispiness and punch on the vibrancy, and warmed it up because this went from kind of a pink to sort of this orange pink over here. And that same thing happened to me. I've done a couple of different edits on this image myself. This one from Bert. Okay, this is an interesting crop, and you did a good job keeping the original color of the tree here. Excuse me. Um, yeah, that's an interesting crop. And then And then, yeah, some of the blues here in the water. Okay. Let's see. Good job on the sky. And then this one here from John. Another vertical crop. This is a really good crop. I like this one a lot. If I were to go back to the scene, I would do a vertical. I would shoot this vertical, uh, and and with a longer zoom. I forget what I had on this. This was I think this is my 40. Oh, this is the 25. Yeah, so I would probably bring my 40 to 150 and do a vertical crop and do a crop like this in camera rather than in post because we're going to lose a lot of detail. But I like this crop. This one here is also from John. This is also a very good crop. Nice square crop on the tree. What I would have to do is like if I were there, I would have to stand on the hill here, maybe with the 40 to 150 and do a nice square crop that way because it just when we crop in that far, we just lose too much detail. But I like the overall composition of the scene this way. Um, and yeah, I like the editing here on the sky. A little bit of a shift there, brought that in. Okay, that's my original. Okay, here's one from Garrett. Yeah, this is a pretty, I like the bordering. This is a pretty awesome crop too. This, I think I like this a little better than John's. John's was very similar. Actually, it's almost identical, but in John's crop, he cropped off this left side, but this keeps the whole tree in the frame. I think that's my favorite edit so far. Much better in vertical. I don't like the horizontal that I did. And then the last one. So yeah, good job, Garrett. I like that edit. Then again, another vertical crop, very similar. But the tree is off center on this one. So it feels heavy on this right side to me. But this time you didn't chop off the edge here, right? But somehow you like this trees over here in this line. Okay. Really, really good crops though overall. The vertical I think is the best. 'Cause it seems like the majority of you went with the vertical. Let me see. This is the only other horizontal. This is a horizontal. So it's about 50-50, but I like the vertical. Let me see if I can find my edit. This was my edit. Uh yeah, it's okay. It's a tight crop and I push the colors, but I try to keep this pink. So my overall edit is a little bit cooler than warmer. I normally go a little warmer, but when I went warmer, I lost the pink. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the scene like before the pink goes away because it's gonna turn green. This tree's gonna turn green later, after in a couple of weeks. So I might go back here and retake this shot and see if I can get a little tighter crop. But I like the vertical. This horizontal crop's not bad, but again, it's just we're too far away. All right, awesome, awesome job, guys. And then let me see. Ernest says, I have my edited light painting as well. Where do I send it? Yeah, I think Erna, you sent me the edited version. I didn't get a raw image. And if that's the one you wanted me to edit, I don't have anything to change. Because what you sent looks like it's been edited. This one, right? Okay. Paul says, I think there was enough in the sky to keep the 4x3 saw on that seascape. Yeah, there was a lot of nice clouds in that sky, definitely. This is the original, so you kept all of this, I remember. Wherever your edit went, it's somewhere down here. Yeah, this one. This is your edit. Yeah, I think it works. Yeah, the texture and the details are all balanced, right, between this and the sky. So, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Um, okay, so let me fix up. Yeah, I'm sorry it was so muted. I'm going through the chat. All right. So what I want to do is demonstrate because Tim had asked about the difference between chroma and Luma, and then someone, I think Paul, answered that. Let me see if I can demo it. Uh, where's that? The goose picture is a good one too. Really, any picture is pretty good. So this is the JPEG. Let me see. Where's the raw image? Okay, here's the raw image, right? So chroma means color, right? And it's easy to remember because monochrome means one color. So chroma means color. And then luma is luminance or light, so it's the brightness. So by adjusting the sliders, let me go into the edit mode here. And let me just take a control point. So there's a really strong separation of red and blue here. So if I click on this and expand this out, the way the chroma sliders and luma sliders are set at 50%, the brightness of this red is probably about the same as this blue. But let's look at the color first. That's the easiest way to look at this. So if red bird though with the red masking, let me change the color of the mask to green. Is that not going to change? Oh, okay. So this green area is what's being masked out, right? So I'm masking out the reds, but you can see that not all of the reds are being adjusted, right, or being covered by the mask. So I can reduce the chroma and say include more of the reds or variations of red. But if I do that too much, I'm going to start bleeding into the other areas. You can see other areas are starting to turn green. And I can tighten this up and say, really, like this dark red, I can highlight that with a very tight chroma mask, or I can spread it out and say, include the other shades of red in that, something like that. So that's what the chroma slider does, is it limits the masking based on color. And then you can feather that color or shades of color in and out using the chroma slider. The Luma mask is the same idea. So let me move this over here. The Luma mask separates the masking by light. So, and then you can feather that brightness if you want to include more brightness or no brightness. Uh, so if I want to make this a little bit tighter, I can increase this. So you can see this is very, very bright areas here. Or I can say, okay, let's feather that brightness out a little bit. If I go back, if I put it to 0, now it's highlighting everything regardless of brightness because I put it to 0. But the default of 50% is saying, okay, just highlight the brighter areas within 50% range or feathering. So just think of these sliders of like feathering either the brightness mask or the color mask. And wherever you drop your control point will dictate what color or brightness you're trying to mask. And after a while, you get a feel for, okay, let me mix these two to try to minimize the effect of the adjustments I'm going to make to other areas of the photo. So just practice with that. Just keep that in mind. Chroma is color, and you can feather that back and forth. And that's why when I'm doing a vignette, I set these both to 0. I invert it. Now it's affecting everything like that. Or I can just tighten it up. And now it's, it's, I hope that gives you an idea or a feel for what these do. Okay. That's the chroma Luma mask. Pull this over here. If there's any other questions. Oh, you haven't edited. Okay, let me take a look. Let me take a look, Erna. So the one you sent me is not an edited JPEG, but it's a JPEG. Uh, Honestly, I only see one version of this in my thing here. So there's the first one you sent, and then if I go up, I don't see any other one there. That's the only one. There's just this one here. Okay. I think we're all set. So you guys, thanks for sending your images in. And if you want to download DxO and try it for yourself, I was watching so many videos. Well, let me rephrase that. I watched some videos about alternatives to Lightroom and Photoshop, uh, and they're all okay. They really miss, I think, what are the important things about, say, using free software versus paid software versus subscription models. There's a lot of considerations, and a lot of the tools are different in different softwares. And DxO certainly is missing a lot of tools that I use in Lightroom, right? Specifically, being able to, the Lightroom Photoshop combo is being able to layer images. And I have a lot more control over masking and luminosity. Lightroom Photoshop combination is really powerful. And the denoising is pretty good, but it's a subscription model. And ultimately, it's not the best when you're working on single images. And but for me, and if you do any professional work, it's almost mandatory. You have to have Lightroom Photoshop. But if you want to get the output of the DxO module and the denoising of DxO, if you're stuck with Lightroom, like a lot of people are stuck, because of the cataloging system and all of that. They like that or they hate it. Either way, that's the Achilles heel of Lightroom Photoshop is the cataloging system. And I think, your best option is to get something like Pure Raw 4. Pure Raw 5 is around the corner. I'd wait for that and work with your Lightroom Photoshop combo. You will get better results with Pure Raw than you will with the Lightroom. Assuming you're trying to denoise. If you don't need to denoise anything, you're fine with Lightroom Photoshop. You just have to pay whatever it is the subscription fee is wherever you are. For me, it's 120 bucks a year. I pay it once a year annually. And for the ability to do layering and the AI stuff and all the other things that Lightroom does, worth it for me as a professional. The free photo editing software, there's Raw Therapy, there's Darktable, GIMP. All of these are good alternatives. You don't pay any money for OM Workspace. you know, but they don't have the necessarily always have the correct optic modules, and they're just not quite as powerful as, say, something as Lightroom and DxO, but they're great alternatives. Uh, you don't have to pay anything for, right? The only the major drawback with OM Workspace is it doesn't have local adjustments like I do. I hate doing global adjustments. You'll notice that in a lot of the editing that I do, I rarely do global adjustments, right? Uh, I go right to the local adjustments after I do my crop and white balance. And then, whatchamacallit, there's On One, there's Luminar. Luminar is these these two look pretty good too. But the end results in terms of denoising and sharpening and all of that, I think DxO is still superior to all of those. But they definitely have some additional tools that DxO does not have. But the reason I use DxO the most and I promote it the most is because the final output is all that matters to me. If there's certain tools missing that would make things easier to do, like panoramas or HDR, DxO doesn't have these things. And these are things that I use a lot. I, I can always use Photoshop, which I do a lot, but there's also free alternatives to do panorama and HDR. If all you have is DxO, you can use, I do primarily the free option. It's called Huggin. Huggin is really good for doing panoramas. For HDR, I use Nick Collection, but that's a paid one, right? But it's not a subscription. So you buy it one time and you can do HDR, silver effects. Nick Collection is pretty awesome too. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that why I like DxO the best, because my priority is the final output, and the I can supplement any tools that DxO is missing with usually a free option. But since I have Photoshop, I don't use the free options as often, but I could, which I might have to do a video about. Say, if you have DxO, here's a couple of free options to supplement the panorama missing and the HDR missing, right? So that you can do those things with DxO. And if you purchase Pure Raw 4, you get a free upgrade. Oh, cool. That's right. I'm not really a good affiliate. I don't promote the things that I should as well as I should anyway. And then Marco says, unrelated to your video editing, but can I get your opinion on something in my streaming video setup quick? Any chance I can hop on for? Yeah. Uh, let me give you the link. Where is it? So if you want to join me, Marco, go ahead and you can use that link there to come on. And Tim says, got it. So as soon as you come on, Marco, I'll bring you in. We'll get a little live one-on-one. I assume, hey, Marco, I assume you wanted to do this publicly.
Yeah, all good. I need to mute some. Are you getting feedback from me, or is it all good?
It sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm going to
So,
turn my volume down a little.
stupid,
Okay.
silly question. When I'm in my office here for calls and streams, see how the window's blown out? It's just
Yeah.
pure white. Is there anything I can do in terms of filters or altering my lighting to help that?
Let me see if I can. So this window here.
Yeah,
Oh,
unless it's nighttime or raining, it's no matter how much sun is out there, it's completely blown out like that.
okay. Well, I don't think there's a reasonable solution. What you would do is you would need much more light on your face.
I'm about 50% now. Like if I go to 100 and let it readjust, it helps a little, but I'm searing my eyeballs out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the problem is you would need so much light on you
Yeah.
directly that it's going to be hard to see your screen that you're looking at. And
So really just tinting that glass then is really the only, or pulling the shade down.
yeah,
Okay.
because it's just like taking a photo, right? When you got a strong backlight,
Yep.
you have to use a flash to fill in the so you don't silhouette.
Gotcha. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Cool.
Yeah,
That's all I
I
wanted to
can't
bug you
think of.
about.
I'm trying to think if there's any other solution. Uh, yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
boss.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. All right, that's cool. I don't know if you guys would be interested. I could put that join link in all of my live streams, and if you want to join me live, you can just click on that and come in. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. What's today? Today's Friday, so Sunday will be my next live stream. So be sure to join me there. But thanks so much for sending your images in and let me edit those. I appreciate it. It's a two-way street. I learned from you guys from seeing your edits of your images and my images, and hopefully you picked up a few ideas from me today too. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you again soon.